meaning there is no logical way of stopping people who are willing to die for their cause. What, they're threatened with death? Bring it on. Hey, that's what I want.
In a video circulating on social media, a Jewish student asks a rabbi a question. The student appears confused about why God grants the prayers of Muslims, whom they consider to follow a misguided religion. In general, Jews believe that Muslims worship the same God as they do, but they regard Islam as a misguided faith.
We have the same God as the Arabs. We believe in the same God, one God. So it's a paradox. See, the Christians believe in the Trinity, whatever that's supposed to mean, but it's a part of it is their God, who's the JC, we call her, but that's not our belief at all. We're not allowed to believe in anything like that.
Let's return to the original story. The young man's confusion is evident from his question. He begins by recounting his experience in yeshiva, where he learned that Arabs also pray to God for their success, which sometimes comes to fruition. He added, "Do we have the right to stand before God and ask him to ignore the prayers of others? Or should we see it as a prayer competition in the eyes of God?" Hearing such a question, the rabbi said that it is a very complex question and requires deep understanding. He acknowledged the difficulty in understanding this phenomenon and recognized that the conflict between spiritual and physical forces has been a long-standing debate in Jewish history.
My question is about the war. The Gemara says that when the Listim pray to Hashem for success, they pray good, He grants them success. He helps them to steal. And I think the Sephardi Nusach is different than the Ashkenazi Nusach, but we learned Hashem Shomei Pilat Kol Peh.
Yeah, the Sephardi, yeah.
And moreover, I remember when I was in yeshiva, you told us that the Arabim are such a difficult opponent because they do have certain skusim and they have a certain kasher with Hashem. They have Mila, they have some version of kashrut, they have sniot. Maybe some people could say they're better with sniot than we are. And so my question is something that I've been struggling with, standing before Hashem and tefillah, feeling some sense of confusion and discouragement about that. And even though it hasn't been for me, I can imagine someone might feel something as negative as even betrayal. That to think that the Arabim are, they're praying to Hashem for success to hurt us, and we know that. We know that they did that, and we know that they had the success, and that Hashem answered their prayers. So how do we deal with that confusion? Tefillah, we think about that, and moreover, do we even have the right to stand before Hashem and say to Hashem, please Hashem, listen to our prayers, ignore them? We know that they're saying, Hashem, listen to our prayers, ignore them.
Yeah.
And then even more than that, is it hashkafically correct to even think of this as like a Susim arms race, or like a tefillah, like Hashem's counting a heshbon of tefillah and Susim between us and between them?
Yep, it's a very, very difficult issue, and this is a concept that I admit has given me much confusion and uncertainty over the years, and that is the notion that prayer has a power. Prayer has an efficacy, even when it is uttered by a rasha, and even when it's for immoral purposes. This is the kayach of prayer if it is belev shalem, if it is truly sincere. There is something called dark spiritual energy. Tefillah is a spiritual energy, and even when it comes out of darkness, it has a certain power.
Furthermore, the rabbi elaborated on the strength of the descendants of Ishmael. He acknowledged that the greatest difficulty for the Jews was in confronting the people of Ishmael. Their power lies not only in their physical strength, but also in the spiritual dimension they possess. As descendants of Ishmael, Muslims have a strong spiritual heritage, including traditions of prayer and the benefits of the covenant of circumcision. This spiritual aspect sets them apart from other enemies of the Jews, as they can harness their spiritual strength to achieve their goals, even if it means sacrificing their lives. For this reason, the rabbi asserted that to face an enemy like the descendants of Ishmael, there is a need to develop strategies based on greater spiritual strength.
Rav Chaim Vital writes, based on Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, that the last and most difficult galus that Am Yisrael will face will be the confrontation with Yishmael. And he says Yishmael is the most difficult because they are the only one of our enemies that comes with a spiritual power. Meaning Esav, that represents physicality and brute force. So of course, in the long run at least, Ruchnius, because Yishmael comes not only with physical brutality, but Yishmael comes with spiritual merits. They are a child of Abraham. They have a koach of prayer. They have a merit of Brit Milah, again, which goes back to Abraham. There is a tznius. In fact, one of the things that would be very, very funny if it wouldn't be said, I think Jordan wanted to not allow Israeli teenagers to go to Jordan because they said that they're lowering the standards of adolescent modesty. They felt that the Israeli kids were a bad influence on the Jordanian teenagers. Again, it would be funny if it wouldn't be said, but okay. So that raises the question that you're raising, again, which is very perplexing, and that means because they have these merits, they can pray for bad things. And there's a certain power in their prayer.
There is something important to mention here. In Islamic teachings, praying for harm or evil upon others is forbidden. This is supported by various hadith narrations and statements from Islamic scholars. In the hadith it is mentioned, truly the oppressed prays for evil upon the oppressor until justice is served, but then what remains is the surplus of the oppressor's wrongdoing over the oppressed on the day of judgment. All right, let's return to the main discussion.
And indeed, this is very, very clearly the case. If we think about this, the enemy of Yishmael, that Yishmael represents, is an enemy that cannot be defeated by conventional methods. There's no way to stop it, meaning there is no logical way of stopping people who are willing to die for their cause. What, they're threatened with death? Bring it on, gesundheit. Hey, that's what I want. You see, the Nazis, I have to say, at a minimum, if you can say something good about the Nazis, is that they were cowards. So when a Nazi thought he would be killed, starts negotiating when they saw that the end was near. And Hitler was enough of a coward that he took his own life in a quick way rather than facing the consequences. So Nazis were cowards. So cowards can be defeated by overwhelming military force. Mutual assured destruction only works when you either have cowards or at least normal people, people who don't want to die. But when you have people who don't care if they die, then how are you going to stop them? There's nothing you can do. So really, the statement of Rav Chaim Vital that Golus Yishmael is impossible to defeat by conventional military means, is even...
الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق